Hi, everyone. I wanted to welcome all of you to this session about kindergarten and learning here at Sterling Hall. I have three parents with us today who are going to speak a little bit more about their experience in our kindergarten program. And I am so grateful that they have taken time out of their day to do this with us. I also wanted to introduce myself. My name is Kate Taylor, and I am the director of curriculum here at Sterling Hall. And I also had two sons go through the kindergarten years here at Sterling. They are currently in grade 4 and grade 7. And I will say that it was those really strong years that set them up for success. So we're here to learn more about that. I'd like to pass it to our panel for you to introduce yourself and maybe just say what grade your son or sons are in. And then we have some questions to go through. Manlin, you're at the top of my screen, so we'll start with you.
Okay. It's just my pleasure to be here. I have two sons at Sterling. One is in JK, his name is Brady, and the other one is in grade 2, his name is Aiden.
Amazing. And Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I have one son, Oliver, who's currently in SK, and he started with Sterling Hall last year in JK.
Amazing. And Kari.
Hi, I'm Kari. I have two sons at Sterling Hall. I have one currently in grade 3 who started in SK, and I have a son in JK who started this year.
Amazing. Thank you all for being here. I think probably you might get this question from those who you socialize with or people in your family. Why did you choose to send your son to Sterling Hall in kindergarten? And so the first question I'd love to put out on the table is, if you were to introduce someone to Sterling Hall or tell them a little bit about Sterling Hall, what's the first thing you would tell them about our school? This can be to anyone.
I can jump in here.
Sure.
I would just say that Sterling Hall is truly the most warm, loving, and supportive environment that you can give your child, and that they're truly invested in the success and growth of each individual child.
Amazing. Stephanie, I can imagine in those first few days when you're sending your 3-year-old or 4-year-old off to the halls of this bigger school, that can be nerve-wracking as a parent. How did the teachers in the school help you with those early days?
Well, I think that they really recognized that each boy truly has their own personality, and they truly tailor their approach to each individual personality to ensure that each boy feels safe and supported and confident, and they don't have a one size fits all approach for every child.
Amazing.
And that was really important to us.
Excellent. So it left you feeling reassured as a parent, is what I'm hearing from you.
Absolutely. That those first few days in JK, you're dropping off your babies to a new environment where often they don't know anyone. And they made us feel so confident. They made Oliver feel so confident and secure. It was wonderful.
Amazing. Manlin or Kari, do you have anything? You both have JK boys this year. That was only a few months ago. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer. Oh, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah,
Sure.
Go ahead, Kari. I'll do after you.
Sure. So our experience, we started this year in JK, and it was just the most nurturing environment. I felt like it was a giant preschool, and I know that for a lot of us coming from preschool, it's a very warm and very, very nurturing environment. And going into an elementary school can be very intimidating. And I had done it with my two older children, and it felt like a very big jump. Coming to Sterling Hall and JK felt like a continuation of preschool. It felt like the teachers were just as warm and just as calm and patient. And they really, one of the first questions we were asked was, how can we nurture your child if they have a hard time with the transition? And I loved that question because it allowed me to speak to my son and figure out what would make him feel calm and reassured if he was having a tricky time with the transition. So I gave a few examples like, reading him his favorite story or getting his older brother to come and sit with him. And sure enough, these strategies really did work. And it felt like such a beautiful moment to be able to suggest something to the teacher that would help my son. And the fact that they were looking to us to know more about our son was so reassuring and a great way to start the year.
Amazing. So I'm hearing communication and transparency felt very much part of that process.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. And Manlin?
Yes. I just feel the community here in Sterling, it's such a close and small, and doors are always open. So I was able to get into the school, pick up my boy right at the door and had a little real conversation with his teachers. And this year, like I felt our JK family has been extremely close, that almost like all boys signed up the same skating and soccer club outside of the school, so that bonds that they were able to develop outside of the school, and parents know each other and they just feel safe and secure to come to the class.
Amazing. So that's okay. So what I'm hearing from you as well is not only did your son feel welcomed into the community, but also you and your family felt welcomed into that community. And that allowed to build the ties with the boys and with the families as well.
Yes.
So now that they are welcomed and they are reassured and they feel really safe and cared for in their environment, from your perspective, how do you think the school combines learning and play and exploration at the same time? What are your experiences as parents in what they're learning in the classroom?
The school makes everything so much fun for the boys to learn. They get actively involved in sometimes even choosing what they'll be learning, and they always make it fun and interesting. For instance, right now, the SK boys are doing a section on insects. And so they had a batch of butterfly larvae delivered to their classroom, and they've been observing the larva as it transformed into chrysalids and butterflies, and the boys are now feeding them, and they're just learning about the life cycle, and they're just all really excited about it. And that's just one example. They had another previous section on outer space that they were learning about, and just everything is always fun and exciting, and the boys are truly invested in what they're doing. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Amazing. So you see that inquiry come out and that curiosity in the early.
They are so interested in what they're doing. It's amazing.
Amazing. Manlin, how about you? How was Brady's experience?
Yes, like one thing I really appreciate is that how intentional teachers are in blending, structured academics with play-based and real-world exploration. Like for example, in one of the recent unit they were exploring on was the materials and their properties, and the boys weren't just told about the concepts. They used to solve real life problem that they found around their classroom. For example, I think the two of the problem that they found was the broken door stopper and ineffective pencil bag. So they were able to, with the guidance of thinking routines like parts, purpose, and complexity, they were able to design their own designs and tested them and learned from what didn't work and improve their ideas. And I think that's the real design thinking in action. And another great project they were doing this year was based on a fairy tale, The Three Billy Ghost Gruff. And the boys became little engineers, and they designed transport system that helped the animal cross the river. And those transport systems that they were designed on was based on the recycled materials that as parents brought into the class. And then they got tested them in the real water, like in a bin of water. And I think it was the science, the literacy, the design, and the fun all rolled into one. And I think another great thing that I wanted to point out is that when I asked my boys, what did you learn today? Anything new from school this week? They always answer me something like, I played this and we played that. It's like, to them, it's all play. But for me as a parent, I can see how much like deep thinking, problem solving, and collaboration that way beyond the play. I think that's the magic of the program. Yes.
Amazing. I love that they're coming home feeling like they played all day, but really as adults and as teachers, you can see the intentionality behind it. And
Yes.
actually, one of the other things I should note is, Stephanie, having you were thinking about your son when he was in JK last year, and you can hear already that the projects are similar and different, that the teachers have been intentional with their class and they've chosen different aspects of inquiry to lean into this year. Actually, I was just in the JK class yesterday looking at all the pencil cases that the boys had designed, and they're actually using their newly designed pencil cases in kindergarten and using it to hold all their pencils. And some of them are still thinking, this is not good. I need to make it even better. My pencils are slipping through. So it's empowering to see that our teachers are also giving them these skills that they're going to need in the future. So these skills that they're learning in kindergarten are not just because they're kindergarten students. They are sort of the seeds of foundational learning for their future years. And so, Kari, I'm going to pass this to you because I think you're the one with the oldest next child. Thinking, what are some of the things that you can see that Teddy's learning in kindergarten that's going to help set him up for success in the later years? You have another boy in grade 3 at Sterling. What are some of those things that you notice?
Yeah. So what's so interesting is that I have one son who is very outgoing and not timid. And I have another son who started at Sterling Hall very much the opposite. So couldn't walk in without someone holding his hand and was very nervous, very anxious, had a lot of worries, a lot of sad mornings and drop offs, and a lot of hands on deck. And I've seen this transition to a kid who is so confident. And, he's come home the last few weeks talking about seeds, and they're exploring seeds in outdoor ed. And he's looking at seeds all over the place. We're looking at it in our garden. We're looking at it in our refrigerator. We're looking at it really everywhere we go. And not just that, he sees my older son doing math homework, and suddenly he's bringing the seeds to the table and he's starting to line them up and he's doing patterns and he's counting them. And so all of a sudden you see all of these different areas of study coming together. So not only is this his outdoor education, this is also becoming math. It's his communication. He's starting to write it down. So it's his fine motor. I'm seeing it really across the board, how he's going to transition to the grade 3 student that my son is and explore the same way that he is, but with different materials than seeds, obviously.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think one of the things our kindergarten program really does a great job at is equipping the boys with knowing that they are like owners and they're part of their own learning, so that they realize that this is not a passive exercise, that they really understand that they're connected to this learning, and also that learning happens everywhere. So whether it's at home, whether it's in the garden, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in interacting with other boys and teachers at the school, they're realizing that all of this is interconnected. And that's a pretty powerful skill
Yeah.
to learn as a young child, that your impact impacts others and vice versa. And so it's through the butterflies and through the life systems that's really coming out in those instructional pieces. Stephanie or Manlin, did you have anything you wanted to add about some of the skills you're seeing in your kids that they'll take forward and set them up for success down the road?
I would just love to echo what Kari just described about one of her sons going into the school, a little bit timid and unsure of himself. That was my son as well. And that was one of the reasons that we chose Sterling, because we felt that this was an environment that he could blossom in. And we have seen such a transformation in his whole demeanor as well, that he just gained that level of confidence and independence. And it's just amazing to see the transition.
Amazing. Confidence is something that's really tricky. So Manlin, I'd love to hear from you as well.
Yes, I wanted to talk about something about social emotional learning and self-regulation that happened on Brady. So Brady was a very strong-willed, he's a little perfectionism, and he can be really hard on himself before he came to Sterling. If he colors outside of the box, he gets upset. He would wake up as early as 4 a.m. to just finish his unfinished Lego set. And you can see how this is so frustrating and exhausting for not only him, but us as a family. And what's been incredible this year is how the teachers at Sterling have supported him emotionally. They've helped him recognize his feelings, identify the zones that he's sitting, and learn tools to regulate his frustrations. And it's just gently shifting away from all or nothing mindset. And there's been such a focus on self awareness and self compassion. And I can see over the course of this year, Brady had a huge change. And he's still passionate and driven, but he's learning to be more flexible and to pause when he's upset and to just to name his emotions. And I think that kind of growth mindset will for sure help him navigate challenges in the future. And when he learns how to self-regulate, he's also more focused, which can set up stages for his future independence and motivations. Yes.
Thank you so much for raising social emotional learning. we all know how important it is. We're all women. But when we think about our boys, we can't think of a better way for them to start those early years, being able to understand how to communicate their emotions. It is such an important skill. And like you said, that fixed mindset, when we meet a boy in grade 6 who's arrived at Sterling for the first time, that's really challenging. That's hard to unpack. It takes a lot of time to unpack that fixed mindset because it's become so ingrained in. But when you have a 4-year-old and you get to unpack that, it is much easier to do that. And then they set up for success in those later years. I mean, for anyone who's watching this, we have social emotional learning all the way from JK through grade 8. It's something that we do every single morning, and it's modeled by our teachers. And one of the things we work really hard on with our teachers is them modeling that vulnerability to the boys as well. Really being that model, because we all know that as parents, we can say it to our kids 1,000 times. But when they see sort of their heroes or their teachers doing that, it really has a different impact. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that experience with us this morning as well, which perfectly leads into my next question. I think oftentimes when I speak with our JK and SK teachers, I remind them that they are teachers of the students, but they're also kind of co-parents. They really work closely with the parents in those classrooms as well. So how do you find that being part of the JKSK program has helped you parent your young child as well? What have you learned about your kid through being part of the Sterling Hall community in kindergarten? I didn't pick someone. I apologize. Stephanie, you look like you're ready to go.
Sure, I can go ahead here. The teachers really have a pulse on what's going on with each individual child. And there's always a back and forth with the teachers about what's going on with your child. For instance, my son felt anxious about using the iPad for whatever reason. They were doing a learning activity on the iPad every week for a block of time, and he felt very anxious about it. And we worked together to help Oliver develop some tools to lessen that anxiety and just go into the activity with an open mind. And we worked at home on it. I worked with the teachers, and they gave me some tips on how to approach it. I gave them some tips on, what might help Oliver. And it's truly a back and forth. And I was truly grateful that they helped me work through the issue.
Amazing. So that open communication really helps between both home and school.
Absolutely. And it doesn't even have to be a formal thing. It could just be pulling me aside in the hallway and just briefly discussing it, before class. And we've had so much success with just all of any little challenges that might have come our way.
Amazing. Manlin or Kari, did you have anything to share about maybe?
Yes, I wanted to talk about the buddy program that school offered. So the grade 8 boys came in to JK's class regularly to spend time with them. And then they really serve as role models. And I think Brady really looks up to them a lot. And there's something powerful about seeing, older boy who's kind, respectful, and confident. It just give him a vision of who he can grow into. And after those interactions, I can see how Brady is acting more kind and patient with his little sister. And, it just make my parenting way easier to see less sibling fights.
That buddies program is so important for both the JKs and SKs, but it's also very important for the grade 8 boys. They love coming down to be those role models. And often we see the best version of them as well in those moments. So it's good learning on both sides. For those watching, we do have a buddies program throughout the whole school. So boys are partnered up with different grades and sort of always trying to do a younger and older. But it is really great to see the grade 8s with those JK boys and seeing them be real role models for them.
And the little kids feel so happy knowing that they have friends in the older grades.
They do.
And they don't just interact during those portions. They see them in the hallway. They ask how they're doing. It's really sweet to watch.
Agreed. They get their high fives as they go down to PE. Exactly. Kari, did you want to add anything? Or
yeah, back to the communication with the teachers. I find that whether I'm informing them of what's going on at home or not, they are up to speed. My son will tell them a lot, and they really will follow up, whether it's a planned vacation or an appointment that my son is anxious about, or even little things, they caught on right away that he is not a happy kid if he's hungry. And so they touch base with me and let me know, we've noticed that he can get very hungry and a little bit sad when he's feeling hungry. And they're on top of it, and I love that they know so much about my son. It's really not just a 9 to 4 involvement of teaching him how to read and write. I feel that they know all the ins and outs, and they want to know, and they want to be informed so that they can stay up to speed if there's any life changes or moves or any travel plans, new siblings, anything like that. I love that they are in constant communication, inquiring with me, and vice versa. I'm letting them know of everything going on at home, and they truly want to know and want to help.
Amazing. One of my questions was about communication, but I feel like we've nailed that one already. It sounds like what I'm hearing from all of you is that not only do you feel very comfortable going to the teachers to suggest anything or ask anything, you also feel like they come to reach out to you, whether it's a quiet conversation in the hall, an email, or a phone call. You feel like those doors are really open between both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about Sterling community, whether that's in the classroom or through the parent community. We've talked a little bit about Sterling learning, but I wouldn't mind digging into that one a little bit more. And then I'd like to speak about Sterling character. So if we think about Sterling learning, one of the pieces I'm going to ask you to notice, what do you think your biggest highlight has been in your son's learning? Not on the social emotional level, but from the classroom. We heard a little bit about some social studies pieces where they're so excited about seeds or butterflies. But what have you seen in your son's growth on the academic front? Because as much as kindergarten is play and exploration, at the same time, our teachers are slowly putting those building blocks into play to get them ready for grade 1. Yeah.
I can tell you that in SK, they are doing such a great job with teaching the kids about reading. And from the beginning of the year to this point, Oliver is so excited about how he's cracked the code of reading, and he just can't get enough, and he's so excited about it. They make it fun. Reading, I would also say with in science, he's learning about the scientific method and how to approach problems, and he's taking it outside of class also. Like if there's a problem, he makes a hypothesis and sees, if the outcome is as he hypothesized. His math skills, he's so excited about what they're learning. We practice when we're at home. He makes math problems on his own. He's just has such a thirst for everything that's going on in class, and he just wants to do more. And it's really amazing to see how much they're taking in at this age. They're like
Amazing.
sponges, really.
They are. I love to hear that you're hearing it all at home as well. I think
for sure.
It's so satisfying as a parent to say, how was your day? And for them to open up about everything they have learned.
Absolutely. We just came back from Montreal, which is where my family is. And Oliver was speaking French to the people in the hotel and to everybody who would listen. And he's only learned French in school. And he's excited. He's singing people's songs and trying to converse with the words that he knows. And it's really special.
Amazing. And our teachers do such a great job of making it fun. Well, like as all of you have spoken to, making the learning fun at the same time. So they just feel like this is just part of life. Like this is what I get to do every day. And it's pretty exciting. Kari, do you have any highlights from your JK year so far on an academic sense? What have you noticed?
Yeah, so I really have noticed, because this is my first son starting in JK, I found it so interesting because I know with my other 2 children, the focus was very much on letters, and I felt like it was a lot of letters and letterland and learning the letters and learning the letter sounds. And I find with my current son in JK, the learning is so much more in depth than just letters. I find that similar to what I was saying about counting the seeds, there's a lot of talk of numbers and how we use numbers in day-to-day world, and even introducing reading and putting your finger on sounds. I find that my son is coming home and very inquisitive and wants to know more, and about the world. He wants to know about countries and holidays and different religions, different practices. He wants to learn all about different types of foods and different cultures, and he just is very immersed in so many different areas than just letters, which I love seeing at this age. He's 5 years old. He started off at age 4, and he's grown so tremendously in terms of everything that's so much more than just letterland, which I love to see.
Amazing. So you're really seeing that whole program come together through his experience. Thank you for sharing. And Manlin, what about you? What have you noticed in in JK from that academic lens?
Yes. So I appreciate the Singapore math that Sterling is using. It's not just a number that they have to know. They take the number into different concepts like collecting data, making tallies. It's just so many ways to make the boys to know what is the concept of numbers. And for example, this year they were learning how to measure the items. So I saw a picture that the teachers were taking was that my boy lying on the floor, and they were measuring the length of his body with a lot of different cubes. And that was also a fun way to get them to know the concept of the math.
Amazing.
Yes.
So you're seeing the teachers employ those really important skills, but in ways that are meaningful to, 4-year-olds,
Yes.
and things that they can use, so they can go back and talk about measurement without having to use rulers and things like that at that age. It's really age appropriate. Thank you. And I apologize for some of the background noise. We are preparing for the spring concert, so sometimes you'll hear that happening in the background. If we speak about the character program, one of the things Sterling also does an amazing job at is building our character with our students. I mean, it's great for them to be lifelong learners, but they also need to have good character. And that's one of the things we really celebrate early on, starting in kindergarten, that we have a Sterling Stars program. And I'm sure your sons have come home to speak about that, but there are about 20, I think 24 or 26 traits, and our teachers celebrate when they see our boys demonstrating those. So demonstrating bravery or demonstrating perseverance. Would anyone like to share a little bit about how they've seen that program help to transform their son, whether at school or at home? Often the character program really ends up coming home as well.
I'm happy to speak to that. I started really seeing this program when my older son, started in SK. I remember when he came home with his first Sterling Star, he was very excited. He said, I was kind and I got a star. And I knew that there was more to it than just kindness. I wanted to know, what that actually meant. And sure enough, when I got to pick up that day, his teacher had let me know that he had assisted one of his friends that had a hard time putting on their snow pants, and really saw this friend go from snow pants to snow boots, hats, gloves, the whole thing, and send him off before my son got ready. And so sure enough, that was rewarded with a Sterling Star. And it meant so much to all of us. It really meant a lot to my son, but to my husband and I as well, seeing this kindness. And I think this program was so amazing, not just for his confidence, but so at this point, I was informed of the program as well, because he was so excited coming home with this star. And I've really seen this program follow him. Now he's in grade 3, and I find that confidence and honesty and so many of these traits are really, really encouraged, and they're spoken a lot about. And I find even in our parent teacher interviews, yes, there's certainly a focus on the academics, but there's a big focus on being kindness and being honest and showing up and doing your best. And all these wonderful traits that are making these boys turn into men. And I really appreciate that, because there truly is so much more than just the academics. And I find that there's a big picture, and these kids go through different cycles in their lives and different friendships and different challenges. And, sometimes they'll see more kindness and less kindness. And I love that the teachers are so informed and so aware, and they will come to us and tell us, we've seen this positive change, or let's work on this a little bit more. And yes, the Sterling Stars really do help with that as well.
Thank you so much for sharing. Stephanie, do you have anything you wanted to add about Sterling Stars?
Just to reiterate what Kari was saying, basically just that recognition and that positive reinforcement of whatever positive attributes our boys are demonstrating. I'll give an example. Oliver they were writing their own creative stories a few months ago in school, and then Oliver came back to school after a weekend away and wanted to write a second story. And that was just totally, on his own that he came to that. And his teachers obviously encouraged him to do that as well. And he was recognized for his love of learning and got a Sterling Star for that. And just to show that, when your child does something that's positive, that they want to celebrate, whether it be something academic as Oliver did, or whether it be something, kind or brave that they did, it's just really, really nice to know that our children are being recognized for that. And it makes them want to display those attributes even more. And at the end of the year, when they get that Sterling Star pin from Mr. Parsons or whoever is presenting it to them, it is such a moment of pride. And they know that they earn that Sterling Star, and they wear them with such pride on their lapels. It is really, really a special program.
It is powerful. The grade 1 boys just got their Sterling Star pins today, and they were all telling me about it at recess. And they do really value those. Even our grade 7 and 8 boys, if they lose some of their stars, they will go back to reception and say, I really need another star. I lost one of them. And it's so important to me. And it's really genuine. And catching boys doing good things is such a wonderful thing to constantly be looking out for over the course of
Absolutely.
a day. I don't know, Manlin, how does Brady feel about that? Is there a Sterling Star that he's got that is his favorite or that he's
Yes.
proud of?
So the favorite Sterling Star that he got this year was bravery. And I also wanted to point out this character program. It's not just something on the poster or on the paper. It's really lived out in the classroom and in the school. And the school really offers the opportunity for them to know those characters. For example, this year, Brady had the chance to go up in front of the entire school and give speeches during assembly. And he was so intimidated. He was so shy, but he did that for that bravery Sterling Star that he wanted to earn. So it's like, even though it's only one sentence or like few words for him to say, it's way out of his comfort zone, I would say. But he did that. Like, he overcome those scariness, and he did that for that Sterling Star, so he came back home so proud of himself. And yeah, so I guess that Sterling Star really works.
I love that you mentioned that it is more than just in the classroom, because if anyone, I don't know if any of you were here for the talent show, but we had our talent show last week, and quite a few of the presentations had like actual Sterling Star pictures on their videos, and boys were sharing, this is perspective and this is bravery. And so you can see it living out in the homes. And also, as your boys get older, they'll join some of our athletic teams, and they are recognized for some of those character traits. Instead of being the most valuable player, they'll recognize them for character traits instead. And you really start to see the boys talking about that with each other, saying, I see this person demonstrating that. Some of our older classes, in grade 2, if everybody's reached their Sterling Star limit, they'll start to nominate each other instead of teachers. And you can really see them starting to own the program, and they take that with them. All right, we're getting close to the very end, but I wanted to ask one last question. And I think this might be this might be a sort of a burning question that anybody has who's watching the video. And they might wonder, what is your main reason? And this might be restating some of your points for investing in an independent school education for your son at such a young age. Why start now? And I know that's a big one. Carrie, I see you shaking your head. I don't know if you want to take it on first.
Yeah, so I'm happy to, because I've had both experiences. We started with one son in SK, and we started with one son in JK. And, sure enough, I had that same thought, kind of like, does he need to go for, such a young age? And so starting in SK was an amazing experience, but I certainly did feel like I had missed out on his first really special year at Sterling Hall. I had always heard that the JK teachers were so nurturing and so warm, and I felt that I had missed out on that. Once I saw what Sterling Hall was in SK, I thought, okay, if I have another son, he is starting in JK. And sure enough, here we are in JK, and there's no place else I'd rather him be. I feel that he is so nurtured and so taken care of. And like I had mentioned earlier, it just feels like an extension of his preschool, which I loved. It feels so nurturing and so warm. And I can't imagine starting anywhere else but at this school, because my intention is to stay until grade 8. And what better place than to start and finish in the same nurturing environment? I wish it went to grade 12.
I know we get that every once in a while.
Yeah.
But the JK-8 experience is pretty special. And I will say, those boys, when they graduate in grade 8 and they're tenors at that point, that group of boys who have had that full experience, not only have we witnessed an unbelievable amount of growth and change between when they were younger to when they're older, the bond between those boys is unbelievable. I was just at a 10-year reunion for the 2015 class. And that 2015 class is graduated university. They are living and working, and now they are all roommates again as adults. And that's pretty special to see that's that Sterling Hall family coming back, those bonds that they make in these early years. Manlin, why choose JK for Brady? Why choose independent school?
Yes, I feel like it's really about giving my son the strongest foundation, not just academically, but also social, emotionally as well. And I knew my boy needed an environment that is that he can be seen and guided and supported. I've seen him grow so much, and also the smaller class size mean that his personality and challenges don't go unnoticed. Like the teacher find out he's such a strong-willed kid right away at the beginning of the semester, and that's just give him a foundation of a way to grow up.
Amazing. Thank you. And
Yes.
Stephanie, I'm giving you the last word. You started in JK and you're heading into grade 1 next year. Why join in JK?
I just think it's such a critical time in their development where, like I said, they're sponges. They're really learning so much, they're faced with so many social, emotional, learning, all these different types of challenges coming their way. Like, why not set them up for success right from the get-go? I've heard so many parents who've joined Sterling Hall later on, and their only regret is not starting from the beginning. And why not just set them up for success right away? And that was sort of how my husband and I approached it. We wanted to have the best chance for Oliver to do well, and for all of his attributes to be recognized, and to work on any challenges that he might have had. And it was the best decision we ever made.
Amazing. Thank you. I love that you noted to set up for success, because I think that's really the core of this. It's through those early years that we can form really great habits with the boys. They get into routines, they have that confidence, which you all spoke about. And our teachers really know them as learners. So then as they go into grade 1 and grade 2, we know where we need to push them and we know where we need to support them, whether that's academically or social emotion, from a social emotional lens. And it really does set them up for success. Thank you, all 3 of you, for giving me an hour of your time today. I know I'll see you all at the concert later tonight, where they will be demonstrating bravery on stage and singing.
Yeah.
And nothing but gratitude. And we're so glad you chose Sterling Hall also.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.